focus on WHS and identifying hazards. So we have Mark, Tash, Jack, Leanne, Carly. Okay, I'm Terry, you all know. So Jack and Tash, I've emailed you the PowerPoint, yeah? Yep.
Yes.
You've got the worksheets there? Awesome.
I have a worksheet.
Cool, that's for our next
Does not
session.
have penises on it.
Awesome. That's for our next session. So we're going to do our first session on identifying hazards. Basically, what is a hazard in your workplace? How would you identify a hazard? Then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back for our second 40-minute session, which will be on our worksheets. Okay?
Awesome.
Over to the PowerPoint.
Will there be beer?
After, maybe.
If you're good.
How will you get us beer?
I don't know. Okay, so control hazards and identify hazards. You have to excuse my PowerPoint skills. So what is a hazard? What would you guys consider a hazard?
Allowing Tony Abbott to control the country.
That's a hazard outside the workplace.
Yeah, but think about inside your workplace. Okay.
Allowing Tony Abbott to have control over work choices.
Something that could damage, harm, or be a health
Politically.
problem.
Yeah. Okay, so think about it, because you all work in individual different...
If a dog pees on the ground and no one mops it up.
Good. Okay, so Jack works at Pet Bar. Okay, so that is quite a valid hazard for his
What would happen
workplace.
in the kitchen as well?
If anyone left loose cables around from their laptops or their computers and power links, so
Good. Okay, so anyone
Leaving
else?
knives in a sink while there's soapy water.
Good. So if you're in your kitchen, okay, even at home, think about if you're tired or in
Leaving your children in the bathtub without supervision.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more like child abuse than it is a hazard.
Oh.
Allowing babies to be in kitchens around hot plates.
Yes. Okay.
So, and ventilation. So, and airflow. If you've got to work in a place where there's a lot of fumes and that sort of thing, so you need to have good ventilation and lighting.
Good. Okay, so I come from a kitchen background, so you're working with heat, gas, that sort of thing, so good airflow, okay, good lighting as well. There's no point chopping up something if you can't see what you're cutting, okay, or working on. That also works in the office as well. If you're under bad lighting all day, trying to stare at a screen, it's not very good. So anything that can cause harm, okay, or the possibility to cause harm is a hazard. Okay,
Yes.
you understand?
Yes.
So we have some examples down there. So your physical, your slips, trips and falls. Okay. Your environment, so your lighting, your ventilation, that sort of thing. Now, online is our physiological, so our mind, okay, stress. You guys listening?
I'm listening.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, stress, bullying, harassment.
love notes between us.
Oh, no.
Very.
It's just got a picture of a penis on it.
So that's our psychological harassment right
Yeah, sexual harassment.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good example. Okay. So all those things
That's
can
none of
be.
your concern.
Stop it.
So all those things can be considered a hazard as well.
See, this is harassment to my learning. Shush.
Okay. And then our last one, which is chemical. Okay. In your kitchen, you're working with a lot of chemicals, burns, that sort of thing. All of that. As well, you can go further into it with your asbestos, which is obviously a big problem. The further down the track damage, so it may not find it that day, but 20 years down the track, they've been exposed to asbestos, they get the lung issues. Okay, that's
Like a
also
dead rat under a sink.
yeah, that's what we're also trying to avoid. Okay.
Seems reasonable.
Put it in bed.
So methods of identifying hazards. So in your workplace again, how would you identify a hazard?
Look around and just see
Look at it and go,
what's
geez, that's a hazard.
Good. Okay, so you're using your senses, your eyes, okay? As we said, ventilation, so gases, you can smell gas, okay? So you're using all your different
If you
senses.
slip over,
Yes, that's a hazard. That is
that's
a
how you
hazard.
identify it when you hit the ground.
So what we want to do, okay, especially in our next session, is try and prevent hazards, okay, which is that But yes. So we want to use all our senses, sight, touch, all of that sort of thing.
My sight's not that good.
Because you had a hazard problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't identify it as it.
The hazard was him.
Yeah. Which is another good point, Tash. Okay, the people around you could be a hazard as well. If you've got someone with mental disability or mental problems, okay, they can be a bigger hazard than anything else.
I can say that
Jackie,
again.
you trying to point something out there too?
And drugs.
Not at all, yeah. Okay, so drugs and
Yeah.
alcohol, okay, that's also another hazard. So the people around you are affected as well.
They're too sober.
Yeah.
Can be a hazard. They could get cranky.
Okay, so our next point is reporting. So we've established that something's a hazard, we've seen it, we've identified it. Next thing we're going to do is report it. So how would you guys go about reporting a hazard?
You
It
go.
depends on the base of the hazard.
Yeah?
I would, if it was a slip, the first thing that I would do is put down a safety sign and then I would proceed to clean it up. If it's a hazard that takes more time, I would follow procedure based on the type of hazard. So if it's an electrical hazard, you tag it, unplug it from the wall and ensure that no one else can use it, and then you make a report in an incident report book. Proceed that to your manager or your workplace health and safety director at your work. But again, it depends on the safety.
Good. Okay, that's basically the full breakdown.
Well, go, Jack.
What he said.
Yeah.
What he said.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay. So I imagine being Jack as a manager, you would have a bit of training along that line. Okay, so if you were just a regular staff member, okay, you would go to your manager and then he would deal, or he or she would
Or
deal
someone
with it.
can tell you there's a problem
Yes.
and you investigate it.
Okay, so moving on. So
Oh, a hazard, I'm sitting on the knees.
get comfy.
Fix the hazard.
Awesome. Alright, so what Leanne was pointing out was, so yeah, talking to someone and then sorting it out. So, for example, harassment, that's a good one. Okay, you can go to your supervisor. It may take a little while for them to sort it out or build a procedure around it to help deal with both sides. Okay, but eventually you hopefully prevent the hazard. Anyone else? Reporting? Okay. What kind of documents would we use?
I use the one that
Instant
admin
report
gives me.
form.
Okay, so most workplaces will have a procedure and a form to fill out. Okay.
If you go to if you're working on someone else's premises, you'd have your own reporting to do,
Yep.
as well as the company that you're actually doing work for, and you'd report to their management and supply that information of the hazard to them, and it's up to them to deal with that
Sure.
and give it sorted.
Okay, so Mark made a good point of going to someone else's workplace. Okay, so you're dealing with their safety system, I guess. Okay, as well as your own. So if Mark if Mark walked into a workplace that he felt was unsafe, he doesn't have to be there. He can say, no, you know, I'm not comfortable here, this is going to harm me in some way, I don't need to be here. Okay, part of his rights and the legislation is that he can leave. Again, then the paperwork comes into it, he needs to report it and needs to file that sort of thing. Okay, the paperwork side of it. Okay.
That's just wagging class.
Does she need a note from the teacher?
Is she coming back?
She's getting a stool so she's not having her OH&S breached by kneeling directly on the floor.
Awesome.
It's a headache.
A stool on the lunchroom floor.
So yeah, different. Some workplaces, especially the larger ones, again coming from a kitchen background, in a hotel. Okay, we had a safety and security, which is the department you go to, so you can speak to a number of people there.
Usually workplaces have an appointed officer.
Yeah, I was going to say they usually have one person who has done the training, okay, and that's who you speak to. Some have a committee or a board, okay, depending on how big the establishment is. and that's where you see. Otherwise, in smaller establishments, it's just your manager or your senior above you. Okay, so what needs to be recorded? So if you've slipped on something, fallen over, okay, either you've gone to hospital or first aid or something like that is involved, okay, you'll get your report form. Okay, so what needs to be recorded on that?
I did one of these last week. Date, time, people involved, location, what happened before, during, what stuff happened after, and has it been remedied, and if not, how are we going to remedy it?
Good. Okay. So you need.
So on a workplace health safety form for us, you're looking at the name, the address of the location of the incident.
Yep.
The type of incident occurred, how it occurred, and could it have been prevented? If the person was injured, what the type of injury was any equipment damage, and if so, what type of damage was there? Should the incident be investigated, and if so, what measures need to be taken, and could an external party have prevented it?
Good. Okay, so each establishment or each business is going to have their own form. Okay. So it depends on what needs to be what that form requires needs to be there. It has to be fact. Okay, you can't go, oh, you may have slipped over and I think blah blah blah. There's nothing like that. It has to be fact. Okay, just in case compensation gets involved or legal steps are taken. So yes, name, date, location. Okay, some will again require. They'll usually have a picture. I've got some examples here. Picture of like the body, human body. You circle, the hand got cut, that sort of thing. The details of the injury, or the hazard. Okay? If no one's been hurt and it's just you're trying to prevent a hazard, okay? Again, the location, what kind of hazard it was, what steps it was to be fixed, okay? All of that sort of thing. And a signature, okay? And some require contact details for a follow-up.
Miss Jorgensen, have you got an issue with us? Because you seem to be looking directly at us all the time.
Sorry, you're right in my view, so... Sorry. Sorry.
Why are we not good enough?
Reply with no, Mr. George.
So I've got a couple.
Trying to be good.
I've got a couple of examples here, and I'll grab another one in paper.
No,
for
you're
you.
not.
What? I am, Carly.
Trying, true.
We try hard.
You try really hard.
Our forms don't have location of damage to the body because we just circle the person's head all the time.
Do you draw pictures on on the body?
Well, no. Just circle the head. That's mainly. And what could be done to prevent it in the future? Well, it's stuck on the interventions.
That's part of the job.
Pretty much. They had to make me fill one out for every time a client has severe suicidal ideation. So I'm just going to be filling out incident report forms for the remainder of my career. Wow.
Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste.
Pretty much. Insert visual hallucination here. Yeah.
Okay, so I've borrowed the one from Jupiter's. Okay, so you can have a look here. It's an example.
Excellent.
Got it? Awesome. Power of technology. Okay.
Cheers, Jack.
So you can see you've got your personal details up the top there, date, time, that stuff we've discussed. The description, it's got the picture where you circle, any injuries or anything like that that's going on. Over the page, okay, you've got your first aid treatment. You guys right there? Stop it. Focus. Yeah, right, yeah. Okay, and it also has a section on the equipment. So if anything
You will get students like that, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
That will,
It's good practice for you.
any equipment, focus
I am focused.
We are focused.
on me. Thank you. Now you know why I'm staring at the laptop. So yeah, they've also got a section on the equipment, and then anything that cords, anything that's broken, to report that as well. This is sort of an all-rounder form. Okay.
Can I ask what a near hit is?
It was a hit.
You may need that.
But if it was a near, then it wasn't a hit, right?
No,
If it
but
was-
if something fell, say, off a ladder or a paint can, you may need to have a different method of keeping your paint can on top
Yeah.
of the ladder.
But is that not a near miss?
Wow.
No, a near miss is if it's hit you and it nearly missed you.
Right. That's a nearly miss. Okay, sorry, thank you.
That's
Continue.
alright.
Continue.
That's when you say nearly Miss Jorgensen.
Okay. So
And the
some forms will get you to repeat things twice, just so they can compare facts and again double checking the story of what actually happened.
Yep.
Again, you can see they've got the signature, time, date.
Sorry, this is the injury to a psychological system. That's awesome. Never heard it described like that.
Yeah.
You'll have to use that.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
no, you're right. That's good.
The customer drove me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You snacking.
I'm hungry.
Right.
Got the shapes.
Don't create a hazard with those shapes.
Yeah, if one of you chokes, someone better have CPR going
And
on.
you're at fault because you're the one that's supervising.
Yeah, well,
Put the food away, children.
just don't choke. Alright, and then, so this one also gives you a good idea of what's going to happen. Okay, so if you report a hazard, it gives you the steps there of if it's going to a supervisor, then to the management system. To this case, it goes to safety and security and how it's going to be worked out. That's pretty much it. Over the back, okay, is just your caution of error sign, or caution of order, I should say. They usually see this on equipment that's been damaged. Do not use it, don't go near it. They change, they vary, but that's kind of what you're looking for. Anyone have any questions?
Do I get first aid before I tick the do I need first aid? Because if
Again-
I'm bleeding profusely, I'm probably not going to circle yes.
Yeah, it's probably, again, each form's going to be different, but I think it's trying to say, did you need first aid? Okay.
Thank you.
So if it
Clarifying,
was
yes.
just you identifying a hazard, you'd probably go, no, and nothing occurred. But if you are bleeding that profusely, you are going to circle yes. That's the other thing. If you
Chances are
In
they'll be
blood.
blood.
yeah.
Self-explanatory.
That's also one of the legal parts of it. If you have an injury and you are taken to hospital or you do receive first aid, obviously you're not going to sit there and fill out the form
Okay, good.
while you're there.
Right.
So it needs to be done as soon as possible. Okay, you can't cut your hand, go to hospital, 2 months later, fill in the report.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Okay, go to hospital once you're in enough of a state to fill it out. Okay, then you fill it out.
Should the the WHS person provide you with the form?
Yes. Yes. It's
How do you know who the WH person is?
That's a good point. Okay, it should be advertised somewhere in your workplace, I guess. You can ask your manager or supervisor.
Usually it's put on the notice board.
Yeah.
Normally you'll have the notice board, and then there should be somewhere in your company where you have all the policies and procedures of your particular company, and in that folder should be the forms that need to be filled out as well.
And in your induction, you should be shown all
Yeah.
of that in your initial induction
Wow.
to a new job.
Does everyone understand that? Yep. Go so yeah, you should be aware, and definitely on a notice board there should be your safety and security officer name, where to get your, if you need a form, where you get it from. Okay. They should also advertise in a bigger establishment if the board or the committee are getting together. They need to let you know that they're grouping.
And usually there's a meeting held once a month or once a quarter, isn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually the meetings are regular. Okay, obviously we want to keep on top of hazards. We don't want anyone hurt in the workplace, so it's always a constant thing.
Generally, at the company I work for, we have a toolbox meeting for all the staff, and we discuss any hazards that have, or any incidents that have happened during that month, and then they get reported if there has been. Also, some companies send us information on recalls of equipment. Like with the air conditioning, there was gas cylinders that were faulty, so we had to let all the guys know what the serial numbers that were of those gas cylinders and have them taken straight back to the supplier. And then that gets, we have a national meeting for all the WHS officers in Australia, a phone link up every quarter, and any hazards or incidents that have happened get discussed and how they can be all rectified, and that all the staff in the other states are kept up to date with it as well. And then that's printed out and put on the notice board, so every time there's a staff meeting once a month or a national meeting, those minutes get put on the notice board so everyone has access to it.
So yeah, your WHS information should be publicly accessed, it should be easily accessed. You should be able to obtain the information you need. Okay, so once we've recorded it, this document, what do you think happens to it? Where does it go?
Hold up. The filing system.
Needs to go to for review first.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go to as Leanne said, to a review. Okay, so again, a small establishment, it'll go to your manager, the owner. Okay, bigger establishment, safety and security, the OH&S officer, the board, and then it should be passed on to the right hands. So, for example, if it was an equipment error, as Mark said, okay, it would then be passed on to maybe maintenance men, okay, and then off to the company, okay, that sort of thing, to the supervisor, to be fixed. If you injure yourself, okay, you are covered, or you should be covered under workers' compensation. So then that form, okay, will obviously go to your superiors, and then onto workers' comp and your insurance.
If you have an incident where there's someone seriously hurt at your workplace in Queensland, if the ambulance or police or fire is sent to your premises, WorkCover Australia are notified straight away, so they are right on it. So that's why it's so important to have all the forms filled out as fast as you can. So because they're all over it, they know what's happening straight away.
Yeah.
In Victoria, you've got to report it yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's really interesting because 3 states are covered in this one session.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
So there you go. So it's all, you know, your different states gonna give you a different answer.
Unless it's us, because we usually call for suicidal, homicidal clients, so that doesn't necessarily go to WorkCover. It's pinned because psychological injury and all that
Yeah.
stuff for staff.
There you go. Okay. So and of course, if you hurt yourself and you're off work, you know, you want to be covered and you want some sort of income coming in, so that helps. That's a bit of a motivation to do it. Okay. So then this piece of paper, it's been passed on to the hands. The situation's all sorted, all done. Then what happens to it? It's get thrown in the bin?
No, we've got to keep it securely for 10 years. How many years is it?
It changes between states.
Yeah. It would be a minimum of 7 years.
Yeah,
It
I
would be
would have thought
minimum
7,
7. And then each company will have their own, but there will be a minimum according to the legislation.
Okay, and is it public record?
No.
No.
Good. So it will go to usually your HR department, okay, if you get in that bigger establishment, okay, or to the owner. There you go. So this one requires it within 24 hours to be notified to your health and safety department. Okay. Where was it? Oh yeah. So once it's done, it will go to your HR or the owner or the manager. Okay, and that's to be kept private. So it has to be in a locked place, so a filing cabinet or something, or an office that's locked. Okay, same with online, being the age of technology. Okay, if it's submitted online or emails or anything to do with it, it needs to be protected. So, limited access, passwords changed regularly, that sort of thing.
Ashley Madison style.
Yeah, Ashley Madison.
Yeah. The hazard.
Yeah. Oops.
My bad.
Yeah. Any questions?
What
No,
are
we're
they
counting.
One more? Okay, so our last thing is, just so you've seen a hazard, you've reported it, passed it on to your supervisor, and nothing gets done. What do?
Go up the chain.
Yep. So you
Or
can
work safety.
Yep, good. So you can go either to a higher supervisor, the owner, okay, submit it again, making note that this is a second submission, that's a word, okay, again, if nothing's done, you can go to WorkSafe or WorkCover, again, the company name changes within states, okay, and let them know, notify them, and they have a legal obligation to follow it up, okay. There is a website, okay, again, each state is different, okay, and again, that website should be provided to you in your introduction and on the OHS board, or WHS board, okay. You have a legal right to this information.
Cool.
Everyone clear and
Yep.
sorted?
All
You all
over
know what a hazard is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Not sharing your lollies is a hazard.
Yeah. We will
If you want them, you can go and get them.
unscrap you. Pull out the bar of chocolate. Cool. Okay, so we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, have a drink, share the lollies, and we'll be back to assess hazards and do our worksheet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Miss.
you.
Is Julian soon? Are we
Yes.
allowed alcohol in your class?
No. No.
Then we're not in your classroom then.